news, there is a scan saying that the left and right hemisphere of the brain have completely different mental functions. We are live on the streets with Adriana discussing this issue. Adriana?
Hi, sir. What's your name?
I'm Jeremy Dennis.
And your occupation is?
I'm a 5th grade English teacher.
Do you believe that people use one side of the brain more than the other?
Well, I don't know. I've heard that people can only use one part of the brain at a time, so I guess you could say that.
But do you believe that people are more left brain than they are right brain?
Well, I think it depends on what you spend most of your time doing. Like, if I'm a construction worker, I'd probably use a different part of my brain than someone who's a book writer or somebody who reads a lot.
So you're saying it just really depends on the type of activities that you do that uses the different sides of your brain?
Yeah.
And what kind of side do you think you are?
I think, well, I don't know, I'm right-handed, so maybe I'm right-brained, but I don't really know what sides of the brain do what, so I can't really say.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you, Paula. Back to you.
I'm here with Mario Gadames. We're about to talk about how the right brain and the left brain may vary a little bit. So do you believe that the right hemisphere of the brain and the left hemisphere of the brain are different?
Honestly, I think so. Because not every part of your body is the same. You know, some arms are longer than other arms, and some things are more saggier than the other things. You feel me?
I guess so.
But-
Do you believe it?
Yeah, I believe it, man. I believe it. Yeah.
And which side do you think you're more focused on?
Honestly, I don't know, because isn't it, artistic for one side and then, logic for the other?
I think so.
You see, I could go both ways, you know? You see, I'm pretty smart, I'm not gonna lie to you, but then my artistic side, wow, I'm like Michelangelo. You don't even know. I am Michelangelo.
So you think it doesn't apply to you?
If a person could do both, then yeah.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
Thank you, Adriana. Those are some interesting stories. Now we are going to be interviewing two psychologists who are going to elaborate more on the subject and to find truth behind the functions of the brain.
Today we are here with Dr. Pele and Dr. Breeze discussing the matter of the whole left side of the brain to the right side of the brain. So, is there any truth to the myth of one side of the brain being more predominant than the other side of the brain?
While there is a grain of truth in that statement, we must realize that this difference is very relative and it's very small. Now, how the brain actually works is the side that is more dominant in let's say, speech. It's more dominant in speech will act first and then will share information with the other side of the brain. With the myth, it's more played out to be that if the right side of the brain is dominant in speech, the right side of the brain is what's being used, and the left side is basically inactive at that point, which is just false. Which is opposite, as in real life, it's the right side of the brain who's going first and acting, but the left side of the brain is also helping with this.
Okay, that makes sense. What is the difference between the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain?
Left side of the brain is more of a helps with linguistics, with speech, so grammar, word generation. While the right side of the brain is more better processing, non-linguistic stuff such as writing, takes action, stuff like that. But the myth that they have completely different roles is completely false. They're just one side is better at processing than the other.
That makes sense. Is this universally true for everyone?
No, there is some cases where the corpus callosum is severed for certain cases. It results in split brain.
And what is split brain?
Split brain, as he mentioned, is when the corpus callosum gets severed, and this can be gone through surgery, and it affects the brain very interestingly. Now, when someone does have split brain, part of their brain part of their brain can't connect. Like how I said with how when one part of the brain is more dominant, but it shares the information. With split brain, it can't share that information. So let's see an example how the left hand is controlled by the right side of the brain, and the left side of the brain controls the right hand. brain, let's say if a person is trying to build an intricate set of puzzle blocks, something like that, the left hand will be working with it, while the right hand might fall behind. The right hand will be delayed. It won't be working together like they usually would if the brains were connected. This also works with sight. So let's say the sight part of the brain is looking at something. The other side of the brain won't be able to tell what it's really reacting to.
So it's like you're blind on one side of your eye.
If
Does damage to the right hemisphere or the left hemisphere have different symptoms?
The right side of the hemisphere, not so much. If you get damage to the left hemisphere, it's speech and stuff like that are cut down. That's why these people with the right side of the brain, they're usually can go on their everyday lives better than those who have damage to the left hemisphere.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys, and back to you, Paula.
After that interview, we were very interested in what one of the psychologists had to say, so we brought him back to the studio and we are going to discuss more on the subject with him. Is there any truth to the myth?
There is a small grain of truth. While one side of the brain isn't completely dominant on speech, on motor skills, one brain is a bit faster at doing so, or a bit relatively more dominant. So when the brain is, let's say, writing, maybe the left side will go first, will immediately react first, and then share that information with the other side of the brain, instead of, let's say, the left side completely taking over and just doing only that activity. So there's a bit of truth to the myth, but it's definitely not how it's made out to be.
What exactly is split brain?
Now, with what I said before, that connection between the two sides of the brain, if the connection is severed through surgery, that kind of messes up it. Like when one side of the brain is doing something, it can't share that information. So certain skills with the other side of the brain cannot function. Like how each arm is controlled by each different side of the brain. How the side of your body is controlled by the different side of your brain. When that's severed, you're kind of inhibited for certain things. Like when example would be when a child is building a block puzzle. While the left hand is working, the right hand will just be undoing all that work because there's no connection, no shared information. This also works with sight and visionary purposes, as when one eye is covered and the other eye is looking at something, they'll see something and they'll understand it, and let's say it's something funny, they'll laugh at it, but they won't know why they're doing so because there's no connection there.
Right. Thank you so much for your time. With this information, we would like to conclude that the left and right hemisphere of the brain do not have different functions. That is all the time we have for tonight. I would like to thank Dr. Breeze and Dr. Pelle for being on the air with us tonight. Thank you all for watching Myth Busted America.